Yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's easier in a way to practice than the other half of it, the abhyasa vairagyam, the not practicing, the relinquishment, is harder in a way than, so
Yeah.
there's a
You know,
practice.
you're used to your structure and your
Mm.
stillness, and I'm used to just being able to sit and just meditate for 10 minutes and drink my tea and look at the sky and connect to God. And like she's like, no, I want to move. You have to stay with me. Now try to find stillness in this kind of insanity and chaos. So yeah.
What about I mean, can you say how physically things have changed, like going through I mean, I assume you practice through pregnancy and then after
Yeah, yeah,
pregnancy,
yeah.
it's rather different. Yeah, I mean, do you just want to detail how especially for women out there,
Yeah.
how you've got your practice back and what you've done?
Yeah. So I was very active through my pregnancy, like my first try, but by the book. I mean, not by the book in the sense of like weird advice from people, but really, I really seeked out the people that I thought I could look up to. And I really like, also, I was really connected to my body. First trimester, I didn't do anything too much, like no jump back, jump throughs, but I still did a practice. Like I was practicing every day almost. But I had a lot of morning sickness, so I didn't do any jump back, jump throughs. I didn't want to engage my core too much the first trimester.
Mm,
I was told it's very important to, not push your abdominals. The second trimester, I felt like I was flying. So I was doing everything, intense handstands, intense back bends, everything possible. Suddenly it was like, wow, I can do everything I want. And, I felt
mm,
great. And the
right.
third trimester, I was very focused that I wanted to have a really good natural childbirth. So everything was about the birth.
Mm,
So I did a practice the morning that, I went into labor. I did a full primary series, but I was also doing something called spinning babies and hypnosis and really preparing for the natural child, like water birth. So I didn't want
what's
to do
spinning babies?
so spinning babies is actually a yoga-based form of, I don't know, movement or kind of protocol where they figure out in the last trimester, they figure out the position of the baby. So if the head is down or whatever. And so the movements are kind of designed to make the process of the natural childbirth as optimum as possible. So if your
Hmm.
baby is breech, they don't recommend too many inversions and stuff like that. So I stopped doing too many inversions. I would just do a headstand just to kind of feel centered and grounded, but not very long. No handstands, nothing. Just really, and not no back bends because I didn't want to
Mm,
overstretch my front
right.
abdominal region. So everything was about you know that the moment of giving birth. I like to prepare for everything I do
Mm,
really well. So it was I was doing like, it was like morning to evening, like classes, hypno
right.
babies, visualization, mantras, whatever, whatever. And so the child, her birth was just incredible. I had a midwife, even though it was in the peak of COVID in India. My family thought I was insane that I was going to have a natural childbirth in the peak of COVID, because if something went wrong, they were like, you have no, medical
So you're
help.
at home.
No, it was at a midwife's space, but there
Okay.
was no
Mm,
proper medical,
right.
she's
Mm,
a midwife, so she was not a
mm,
doctor.
mm-hmm,
And, I was very focused that I want to have a natural childbirth. This is my
mm,
moment, and I want to be very conscious when I give birth. And so it was beautiful. It was like the most magical, but very intense and painful for sure experience. And, postpartum has definitely been more challenging than prenatal
right.
for me. Because
Right.
prenatal, I had all the time and I had the energy to really prepare myself. But with postpartum, it's like you're in the deep end. Nobody teaches you how to be a parent. And suddenly you just have to learn for yourself.
Mm,
You're sleep deprived. You're like trying to figure out how to breastfeed, how to put the baby to sleep, and just look after another human. It's a huge, like
mm,
it's a
mm,
lot of work. So
mm.
yeah.
Do you suffer emotionally at all? As I know a lot of women have difficulties postpartum emotionally, and it's not spoken
I
of much.
I don't feel depressed because I have a lot of passion and I feel like I
Mm,
really want to, I'm very driven, you know, At the same time, if I wake up and I feel like I haven't slept enough and my nervous system is very fatigued, I will not do like I won't do an intense practice.
Mm.
I have enough things, you know, in my toolkit, then I'll do a very gentle restorative practice. If I've not had enough sleep, I'll do a yoga nidra. So I'm quite gentle on myself.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm quite driven. It's like, you know, a lot of yin and yang. So I've not suffered with depression for sure, but for sure I've had a lot of fatigue and exhaustion, you know, and the physical, like I've had pain, every single possible pain in my body from breastfeeding now for 2 years. Like my fingers, I've had pain, shoulders, ribs, back, knees, because breastfeeding is quite intense, I think,
Right.
especially when you're doing it for so long.
Right.
So that's been very challenging, and the sleep deprivation for sure has been very challenging, you know. Yeah.
How have you developed your practice again? What, you know, can you document how you built it up for women to understand how,
Yeah.
well, you know, as an example of
Yeah.
what you've done? Yeah.
So firstly, I was pretty patient. My midwife told me 8 weeks, you don't do anything after you give birth because you want to make sure you've repaired your body. And also because I was in India, and you know, in India, there's a very strong tradition of the first 8 weeks. The mother is just learning a lot of things and healing. So, I mean, I was looking after my baby, but I was not doing any physical exercise at all, nothing.
Mm.
And then after 8 weeks, I started doing some postpartum abdominal work. So very specific to that, not engaging too much of rectus abdominis, more very subtle transverse abdominis work and stability work to make sure that I was, you know, really bringing everything back. I didn't have any diastasis recti, just to recover. And so I was quite gradual about that. And I remember the first maybe month when I started doing Ashtanga again, no bracing of my abdominals, just
Right.
nothing intense, just movement, you know, breathing, you know, drishti, movement, nothing too hard, just making sure my body is moving and just getting it to flow, the energy to flow again. And then, you know, I really listened to my body. So when I started feeling like I'm getting back my strength, I started, you know, just developing the practice a bit more. Back pains are very easy some days and really hard some days. You know, it's amazing. One day I can be doing like the deepest back pain. The next day it's like I can't even think about bending back. Because your body is literally in such a, you know, when you with the breastfeeding,
Right.
there's a lot of flexion of the spine. So sometimes it does feel a bit like your back is a bit achy.
Right.
So I've just really listened to that, but I've also, you know, incorporated weight training, movement like dance, all of that in. So, you know, I think that really helps me to keep everything together.
How long has it been now since you've been doing a full practice again? Have you did you reach up? Did you reach up to the same level?
Yeah. I've now started. I just few weeks back. I mean, I've been in and out of doing third.
Right.
It's strange though. I'm not as ambitious about doing third as I used to be. You know, I was really ambitious. I was like before my baby came along. I was like, I have to finish third this year, and you know, all of that. And now there's a part of me which is like, really, like, why? You know, of course, I still like want to be able to do like scorpion and stuff like this, but the arm balances don't attract me that much for some reason. It just doesn't feel, and this is, you know, this is just me. I don't want to say that any other woman has to be like me. I really feel every woman, everybody has their own unique mix. And so for me now, I'm more attracted on most days to a more feminine. Again, you know, it's very difficult to define feminine. I don't want to be cliche by saying just fluid movements are feminine or whatever. But I'm quite attracted to, you know, it serves my body a bit more to move with a combination of strength and softness. So just doing a lot of arm balances doesn't feel like it serves my body right now.
But you're doing the strength training elsewhere because I see you
Yeah,
doing other
yeah, yeah, yeah,
movement
yeah,
practice.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
I do strength training. Yeah, I
So
do
you
like,
definitely do it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I do strength training like twice a week, like lower body heavy
Right,
weights. I mean, for me, they're
right,
pretty heavy, and upper body, I feel like my Ashtanga practice is like kind of an upper body training, but just a little bit of pulling work, like
right.
rhomboids, lats, stuff which I feel I don't really engage in the Ashtanga practice. Yeah.
So is that where you do it? Just different movements, or you like the weights, or any other
Well,
reason?
I'm in my 40s, and I feel, firstly, I've always been very attracted to fitness. I feel like I want to have my yoga practice to feel really calm and centered, and of course I love the challenge, but there's also another aspect of me which I guess is quite yang, and so I like that kind of intensity, the dopamine or whatever it is. And so for me, the weight training just satiates that part of me. Even emotionally, I feel like it's like yesterday. I mean, I was doing a weight training session. It felt like therapy because
Right.
I felt like I was able to let go of a lot of like unresolved anger, and
Interesting. Right.
it's like for me,
I've
it's
never
like when
done any
I'm
weights, so yeah, yeah, kind of
when
intrigued. Yeah.
I'm doing weight training, I can be
Right.
like aggressive. When I'm doing
Right.
yoga,
Right.
I don't want to be aggressive. I want to be
Right.
very calm. I like the yoga practice to seem very almost graceful and effortless. And when I'm doing my weight training, I'm okay to be messy and aggressive. And if I feel like letting out a shout, I can do that.
Right.
I don't want to do that in my yoga practice. So I like to
Right.
have those two
Interesting. Yeah,
elements.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And you say your approach has changed a little bit to the yoga itself. I mean, I know you're interested in wellness and expanding wellness most
Yeah.
generally now outside of yoga itself. I mean, what other processes do you incorporate in your vision of yoga now and maybe your style of teaching? I mean,
Um, a lot. So like the movement practices I do, which are mainly dance based, are not so much about the aesthetics. They're more about like inner exploration. Like for example, if I'm feeling sadness, sometimes in the yoga practice, I feel like I would not allow myself to feel the emotion. It always had to be about feeling bliss, or feeling
right, right.
or something else. But when I'm just moving in an intuitive way with dance, it's like I'm able to feel whatever I want to feel, So I would say it's almost like dance therapy, just allowing myself to feel unresolved emotions and almost having a safe place in my own room or whatever it is to just be able to process what I feel, and not have to let it out on somebody else.
Yeah,
And then Mark being the person.
yeah, yeah. Poor
And
guy.
the other thing I love is I really love like yoga nidra. Like I guess now
Yeah.
it's getting quite popular. It's called the non-deep sleep rest or whatever something. But I love yoga nidra because I really feel it gives me a recharge. And around my moon cycle, I try to do a more like menstrual cycle based practice, which is quite Iyengar yoga based, and I feel like it really nourishes me rather than like pretty much like a week before my period, I'll start doing very gentle stuff. And then, the journaling, pranayama, meditation, like all of that.
Right, so you keep that in your daily practice. Your meditation and pranayama is part of the
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Incorporate that into it. Right. What about your teaching approach? I mean, would you say that the whole process of motherhood, etc., has changed your style of teaching at all?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally.
Right,
For
right.
number one, I'm very empathetic towards women now and people in general. Because I feel like it's not just women, but I think also COVID has brought, like, maybe a lot of people are going through anxiety and some kind of mental health stuff. And so because maybe I've felt it in myself very deeply, that I'm very empathetic towards people. So if I like, for example, the day that I'm feeling tired or I'm feeling like my nervous system is feeling too wired or something, or anxiety or something, I'm not going to push myself. And I'm the same with my students. If I feel like they're feeling depleted or they didn't sleep well the night before, or for a woman, if she's close to her, her moon cycle, I'm more into like just listen to your body and nurture yourself. I will not tell them push through this, because I do feel like you have to listen to your nervous system. Like if your level of cortisol is too high, or if you have a kind of a slight tendency towards feeling anxiety, then I feel like pushing your nervous system by doing very intense things is not going to serve that. Rather you do the practice. I still feel you can do a great yoga Ashtanga practice in a very like primary, can be like done like a restorative practice. Like to me, it's like a perfect, if you don't really do the jump back, jump throughs aggressively with all the forward folds, you can actually do it in a very calming way. So I would encourage the person to listen to their body and not feel like they have to do something intense. So I feel like my approach has really changed that way. I'm much more empathetic. But of course, if I feel like somebody is not pushing themselves because they're lazy or lacking motivation, lacking motivation, then that's the role that I like. I'm happy to play the role of being somebody who's like a coach, or making them believe that they can do more than they think they can, and, being a bit of a motivator. I like doing that as well.
Yes.
Because,
I know you are, because
it.
if people haven't listened to my podcast with Trube India, Pratima, she sings your praises as a teacher, as a motivational factor. Yeah,
it's like both, like a motivational coach, but also like kind of like a mom to everybody now. There's a mix of both.